Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric.
And I'm Eric.
And we are Eric's Drink Whiskey. Welcome back. Happy National Bourbon Heritage Month. We are bringing you the next installment of our mash bill series, talking about wheated bourbons tonight.
Wheaters!
So stick around and see what we have on deck. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for this episode. We're doing specifically on wheated bourbons. As you guys know, it is Bourbon Heritage Month. We've already done a couple little special things. One special thing we're doing, Eric's Drink Whiskey has some swag now. We got these fancy little, oval with the 4-letter stickers. I don't know what that is exactly called, but we're going to stay tuned to Instagram and YouTube. We're going to be trying to figure out a way to give you guys some of those. So we'll have that figured out and posted pretty soon.
That way your car says Bourbon.
And also says Eric's Drink Whiskey. So
EW.
So Eric, we're drinking wheated whiskeys. What does that mean?
I believe these are wheated bourbons. Not
wheated bourbons.
Whiskey. There we go.
My apologies.
It's Bourbon Heritage Month now. We can't be having no wheat whiskeys in here.
Nope.
Anyway, no, that typically means that either one of the grains has been substituted with wheat, or it has wheat in the mash bill. These particular have had the rye content substituted for wheat, but there have some other bourbons that are out there that have we've seen some 4-grain bourbons that have wheat in it and rye, but everybody likes to associate wheat with that brand that we're not going to give any credit.
Nope.
So these are some good budget alternatives to said things.
Now, I think it's suffice to say just about all of the big boys have some form of a wheater. Beam Suntory's got Maker's Mark under their label. Heaven Hill has Larceny. Buffalo Trace has the brands that shall not be mentioned. Now, if you guys remember, we talked about we've gone through ryes, we've gone through regular bourbons. We'll jump over to high rise, next. But rye is commonly associated with that nice, like, peppery bite that you get. Kind of a higher rye content, you get a little bit of a fruitiness or a floralness, or maybe even a medicinal vibe. Wheat is kind of a weird one. Not only does it affect the taste, it kind of gives you the word I often see is creamy. I don't know that it feels different in your mouth. It's maybe once we start.
I know what you're saying. I don't know. There's not a less perverse term to use.
Yeah. Maybe we'll come up with one as we start drinking these. Now, a lot of people think that just because it's a wheated whiskey that you're not going to get any of that spice. Depending on the mash bill, depending on the type of wheat, you may get a little bit of some pepper flavor in there. But more often than not, I at least in my experience have gotten more of a kind of a weird fruity thing going on. So
fruit often gets associated with the wheat grain in the mash bill. I've always got a good fruit note from it.
So, just for if you want to play the home game, Larceny is available just about everywhere. I think sits right at 92 proof. And $29-$30 for a 750.
Roughly.
You can find that most anywhere. More omnipresent is Maker's Mark. This bad boy is only $22.99 for a 750. Literally everywhere. If you've ever seen a bottle of whiskey, you've probably seen a Maker's Mark bottle.
You want to point out one of the biggest proponents of marketing in the bourbon world. That is the reason why bourbon distillers now market the piss out of their whiskey. Maker's Mark was the first.
It was, I actually just got done reading this chapter in Minnick's book. So Maker's Mark came out in the 50s. It was really one of the first to have a heavy marketing campaign featuring the nice red wax on the top. And even the name Maker's Mark at the time, most bourbons were old, insert thing here, or had some old dead dude's name attached to it. Maker's Mark was kind of the first one to go with kind of an off the wall, just right out of the bag name like that.
And I remember I don't have the documentation that solidifies this, but from enough stuff that I've read, Maker's Mark has the red wax drip patent.
Yeah.
Red wax, but the red wax dripped. Patent.
There's been dozens and dozens of cease and desist letters sent out to other distilleries for copying this. But no, it's unique.
And another thing too about Maker's Mark is their product when they were pushing it, and even to this day, is they strive for consistency. That's always been their big thing. You won't find a $100, $150 limited edition Maker's Mark anywhere. Their big thing was keeping consistency with their customers, and some stuff that they do with the barrels, they rotate them so they all get rotated the same way, so they all have kind of a similar flavor, and that's kind of been the Maker's Mark brand. It's the entry. I think it's the entry higher level bourbon for some people. I know it was for me. Maker's Mark is, I don't know, when it's a very solid brand that has a solid reputation, and I've never once considered this a drain pour. Maker's Mark is it's a solid product for what it is, and you just can't beat it. I mean, they average about 4 to 5 years old. They usually don't put any more older stuff in their stock, but like I said, it's a consistency thing.
This is going to be interesting. The last time I had Maker's Mark, probably about 10 years ago, mixed with Mountain Dew in college.
Ooh. I used to when I was drinking a little bit of this in college, I would get it, and I would get the Maker's Mark cigar, and I would just dip the tip into the Makers and smoke it.
Just go double for it. So, Larceny is a Heaven Hill brand. It's a point of contention for Eric because when Larceny came out in its current form, Heaven Hill's wheated whiskey, it replaced one of Eric's favorites, which was Old Fitzgerald.
Bottled and bond. It was a $14 bottle.
Now, Heaven Hill does still make Old Fitz bottled in bond. It's about 16 years old, about $300. So he's still a little sore about that, but get these poured up.
Which one do you want to hit first?
I'm pouring left to right, Larceny than Makers, but we can go whichever direction.
Well, let's hit Larceny first.
Aye.
So, just a small backstory. I'll go over it later in a mini history episode. But the name Larceny got taken from John E. Fitzgerald, and kind of the old folklore tale that he used to have keys to the bonded warehouses, and he would go and just pick his own barrels, and and it was just kind of like looked over. So that's why there's a key on the label.
We're not going to talk about that other brand that uses keys in their label.
Right. So, like I said, that's for Eric Simpson mini history episode there down the road. I won't be too cursy on that one. All right. Woo. Yeah, a little bite to it for was it 93 proof?
92. So you guys have probably seen by now, we did a little mini impromptu tasting with my wife Kendra. and stuck it up on YouTube. So what we did with her was gave her 3 relatively same age, relatively same proof bourbons with different mash bills. Larceny was the weeder in that setup. And, you know, in that lineup, I was getting some funky nosing notes, and it's completely different now.
Just goes to show it all depends on what you ate, time of day. Taste is always subjective, and you're never wrong.
It smells good. Definitely fruity.
Cherries.
Definitely cherries. I'm not getting that grape that I did the other night.
Got cherries. I get a little bit of that old dusty corn. Faint back there, but it's there. It's a Heaven Hill product.
Just a smidge of, like, it came close to some oak at some point.
Okay, I get some grapes. I'm getting a darker grape.
Yeah, there it is now. Huh.
A lot of honey, a lot of caramel. Like I said, a pretty good bite for 92.
92, yeah.
First impressions. It's a little thin, but not watery. I get like a back end of pepper on the tongue. I know that's kind of counterproductive or counterintuitive to what I was saying. It's like right when I hit the finish, the pepper kind of hits on the front of my mouth.
It's got a long finish for 92.
Yeah.
It's creamy is the only way. It's
like I get like a creamy frosting. Is kind of what I taste with it.
But so
not like vanilla frosting, but just kind of like that consistency of like fresh cake.
It's thick. The important thing, take away these words because none of the ones we're saying are making sense. It's a different mouthfeel than a regular straight bourbon. That's corn rye barley. It's a nice spice.
Yeah, it's like a spoonful of honey with some like ground allspice in it,
and some cayenne.
Yeah, but the front part of it and the finish are very delightful. My mid palate is almost faint. I don't get me personally. I don't get much from it just on the middle of my tongue. But
it's a roller coaster. It's like I'm sweet and spicy. I ain't mad at it. I mean, hell, I'm almost halfway through this bottle, so I must like it a little bit.
Me too.
Well. I already had this bottle. Eric picked it up specifically for today, so don't think ill of me.
Yeah, I'm halfway through. I'm halfway through this tiny mini bottle.
Lord, I'd be in bad shape if I killed half of a 750 from 1 in the afternoon to now.
So chewing on it a little bit, the back flavors I get kind of on my tonsils are like charred bits of sugar. Not that turned into caramel, but like burnt charred pieces of sugar.
And like for me, I get a little of that kind of oaky herbal kind of tanniny dryness.
Yeah. I get that sugar, and using that charred terminology, that's kind of where I'm at as well. I get a lot of that kind of char flavor, but it's intertwined to me with some sugar. Sorry.
All right, let's talk Maker's Mark.
All right, let me get a little palate cleanser here. All right. Ooh. Mm.
Ooh.
Dark fruit.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
the black cherries.
it's like if you ever had some of those like edible arrangements, like the strawberries that kind of sat there a lot longer, and like so they started to turn a little bit, so they just released a piss load of sugar.
I get almost
Like
like a like a like a dark fruit and licorice.
like cordial cherries.
Yeah.
Oh, those. Oh, yeah, a little licorice. Like Twizzlers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except not a candle.
Hmm. Wow, that's interesting. Lower proof point too. This is 90, right?
90. Yeah, right at
Yep.
it.
Hmm. Yeah, deep sugar, deep dark fruits, like fermented, older strawberries, cherries. Almost like maraschino.
I love Heaven Hill, but this one's got the nose.
I'm if the taste matches this nose, I might have to change my mind about makers.
Let's see what they got going on.
Yep, I remember makers.
Oh wow, that's fun.
I don't get nowhere near the bite that I did with Larceny.
It's not as spicy. I still get some spice on the back of my palate. Still got a nice, decent finish. It's a more consistent ride from front to back.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
It's a ride in South Georgia versus a ride in North Georgia.
right.
Mm. The nose does not match the taste, but the nose is just damn good.
So it's really sweet right up front, and then like once it hits mid palate, it shoots right into it's almost ginger. I think it's ginger.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
Where have you been all my life, Makers Mark? Or where have you been since 10 years ago besides in a bottle of Mountain Dew? That's a good weeder.
I got no problem with makers. In fact, I'm actually might go buy a bottle.
I mean, between the two of these, I like Makers better.
I would agree with that. If I was gonna put them on a sliding scale, I would say that per price point, Makers blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
Was it 10, like a good 10, almost $10 cheaper?
Yeah. $22.99 versus 8 or 9. 8 or 9
Now
bucks.
I don't think that Makers releases their mash bill. I may have that wrong.
Someone found out that it is 70 corn, 16 red winter wheat.
I did remember that it was red winter wheat.
And 14% barley. Huh. So about the same 68. Oh, no. No, yeah. 68 corn, 20 wheat, 12 malted barley suspected for larceny. I'd be interested in trying some of their other expressions. Makers does a lot of like Makers 46, I think is their level up from this. Yep. And it's they've thrown like a couple of different types of oak staves into the barrel with the whiskey during maturation.
Yeah, it's like it's their finishing process that they do.
They also do a handful of store picks. I know I saw one today.
The private select.
Private select. Those same thing.
I've got one. Hold on, I'll read the back of them to you.
With those, like a store would get a bunch of samples of different barrels. What Maker's Mark does is you get a lot of samples of different barrels that have had different staves added or wood chips or so different oak expressions.
All right, so this was a Specs Wine and Spirits pick. It's 110.3 proof. It is, they give you the option of picking 10 total staves out of Baked American Pure 2, Seared French Cuvée, the Maker's 46 stave, Roasted French Mocha, and Toasted French Spice. Those are the staves. So this particular one was done with 1 baked, 3 seared French Cuvée, 3 Maker's 46, and 3 French Mocha.
That's awesome.
But there's just unlimited possibilities that you can do with, like I said, picking 10 staves out of those. So they do that. They do a couple of random barrel wood finishing things called RC06s or something like that. They do those, and that's kind of a different barrel finishing that they do. Not with like a wine or anything. It's all about like seasoning the wood and that type of thing. That's kind of been Maker's forte. They also do a cast strength expression, which we might dive into one day. But it's about 110 proof.
And actually, if you're looking for a cast strength bourbon, I think Maker's is about the easiest and cheapest one you can find.
About $50.
110 proof. So
yep.
Yeah, this has been great. Now, don't hate either one of these. Both of these are solid, good value buys if you're looking for a weeded whiskey to scratch your itch for that holy grail of bourbon, as some people think of it as. Either of these will do. It'll definitely get you in the ballpark. Again, $30, $22. Great value picks all day long.
Maker's wins.
Maker's wins. If you have not done so yet, follow us on Instagram. Again, we've got these cool stickers that we're going to try to throw at you guys. We're especially during Bourbon Month, that's where we're airing and letting you know what we're putting out on YouTube as kind of a hint before it drops. But also subscribe to our channel, because you will get notified when we have new stuff drop. That is very important because you don't want to miss out. So until next time, thank you for joining us, taking a look at weeded bourbons. Sorry. Eric and I have enjoyed it. I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.
Cheers.